Hello.
Hello, mover.
Made it in time.
That was a close one.
We made it in time. It is Sunday.
It is. Yeah, it is Sunday.
It is the first day of December. Chick-fil-A is closed, but we are open.
Yeah, trying to.
We're having a show.
We are.
With our 153 viewers.
We'll take it.
Nobody got the memo.
I see 169.
I'm on the wrong side. Somebody just pointed that out. Bam.
There we go.
There we go. Seems I was looking at myself instead of you. How are you, Gonky? We have a lot of time to fill today. It's an exciting show with just us.
Let's talk slower.
Why is my camera offset? Hold on.
Yeah. No, dude, I'm good. Did you have a good Thanksgiving, mover?
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving? Is that what we're talking about now?
No, I mean we're coming out of right? We're coming out of the Thanksgiving holiday.
For the podcast viewers, it's an F-16. Hold on, put it back. F-16, and it says going to Thanksgiving versus leaving Thanksgiving. Fat Amy.
I know, I love it.
Our little video about Fat Amy got us some.
Oh, with Elon. Yeah.
Yeah, got us some.
Yeah. No, that's how I felt That's how I felt Thanksgiving Day. I felt like Fat Amy, basically.
Did you eat a lot?
I did, man. But I've had kind of a rough week, man. So the day before Thanksgiving, I got called in to fly an airplane.
Like a big airplane?
Yeah. And
Fatty. My
truck, the fuel pump quit working on the way. So I did not make it to the airport. So I found out I didn't have roadside assistance like I thought I had. And then I had my buddy tow me. Took us 2 hours. We really
was he towing you with? A John Deere?
He brought his truck and he towed me back. And it's literally like super tailgating somebody for 2 hours. So it was,
dude, those people go from Mexico. They tow 3 or 4 with a minivan. It shouldn't have taken you 2 hours.
25 miles an hour, man. No, but the crazy thing is, so I diagnosed the fuel pump on the side of the road. We got to my house. I stuck my arm in there and squeezed the connector on top of the fuel pump, and the pump kicked on. Truck runs great. So,
okay.
Clean the connector off, snap back on, and then it's good to go. So, but yeah, cost me a sick day.
Is that how it works? You don't have a commuter policy, commuter miss?
No, I called the crew scheduler. I was like, hey man, I'm like 20 minutes from the airport and it's not going to happen. So I do whatever it is you got to do.
What the scheduler say? Walk. Start walking now.
No, he was sympathetic. It was cool. I mean, I have to imagine I'm not the first person to have an issue.
Your airline. Probably nobody can afford.
That's true.
Vehicles,
valid
transportation.
That my truck does have about 320,000.
You were talking Delta, it would be, my Ferrari broke down, and they'd be like, "Bulls, no way, no way."
Yeah, those come with.
I have that same car. There's no way that happened.
Valid, dude. Yeah, 100%. Dude. Yeah, we're bottom of the barrel.
They're used to it. Probably happens every time.
It's tough for me just to put diesel in the tank. So
they're like, "Were you moonlighting as an Uber as per everyone else?" You laugh, but I met a guy at a squadron in Georgia who flew for Delta, and he would moonlight as an Uber driver going to and from the airport for his trips.
Really?
Yeah. He had like 4 jobs. This was pre-contract. This was their pre the 2019 or whatever contract, 2020 whatever, the new contract where they're all billionaires.
Yeah.
This was back in the 2015, 16 timeframe.
I'd be happy with that now, but
yeah.
Yeah, man. So it's been rough. And then I tried to fix the instrument cluster in it, and I ended up breaking it even more. So truck's not even drivable now. So I just striking out, man. I'm usually pretty good with working on vehicles because I do most of my own work, but maybe
sounds rough, dude.
Tough being at the bottom, man. How about you though? Let's talk anything exciting with cars or
Well, I want you to know I'm thankful for you, Gonky. And yeah, that's all I got on that. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that it went okay. So are you going to get it fixed?
Yeah, it's already
What's the plan? What's the plan?
It's going to circuit board medics, and it should be back when I get back from.
You're gonna say Circuit City. I'm like, dude, you
No.
might need to update your Rolodex because I don't
think they went out of business, right?
I think they may have gone out of business. Yes.
Yeah, no, I sent it there Black Friday. I got it FedExed out. So hopefully it gets back. It cost me $300, but
yeah. Douglas,
yeah, dude.
What's up, man?
Turkey neck and sausage gumbo. That's what we had for Thanksgiving.
Sounds good.
It was good because neither of us had to cook it.
It's the simple things in life.
Yep. And potato salad. You can't have gumbo without potato salad.
Tater salad with onions or no?
Very
no
southern.
onions, please.
It was really light on the onions.
There should be 0 onions.
I like onions.
The acceptable amount of onions is none.
My son's future mother-in-law made it, so I was not going to criticize it.
Okay. Got to meet the mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm. She makes excellent potato salad, second only to my wife.
Yeah. The chat is going nuts. Everybody's like, hold on, it's Sunday. Gonky, why are we doing this on Sunday?
Because I'm going to go meet my new my niece. Yeah, I'm going to go meet my niece down in Tampa. So we're leaving tomorrow, which is Monday. And I'll be gone all week, dude. So this is the only chance.
Then you're gone the next week too?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I should be.
All right. I'm just trying to see. I'm trying to keep track of your life, dude. You're such an interesting
Look, man, when you've got
RVer.
When you've got little kids and wife, and it's right. I feel like it's madness.
Madness indeed.
I can't believe somebody said that's a hot take. Dude, that is not a hot take. Onions are disgusting and should be banished from the earth.
What?
Not a hot take. It's disgusting.
I like onions.
I thought I was allergic to onions for the longest time because they make me like
cry,
physically dry heave. Yeah. Turns out I just don't like them. So
love onions.
There's nothing worse than you're like, I'm going to get this great burger and you chomp into an onion.
Oh, I love it.
Disgusting. You guys are weird.
I love it.
Weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a show. May not be the best of shows, but we've got a show.
That's the anticipation every time, man.
We've got a mental health minute too. I came up with one while we were.
You did?
I think so.
All right.
It'll be a surprise.
It'll be a surprise. That's right. Perfect.
It'll be a surprise. Joe says, hi, guys. It's good to see the creative interpretation of your seasons is extended to the weekly calendar. Again, blame Gonky.
Yeah. Listen, you got to keep it spicy, right? I mean, come on. Every Monday, it's boring.
Yeah.
Right, Mover? Gotta keep it exciting.
I live in your world.
Well, I'm glad. Yeah, dude. Doing what I can, bro.
And then Aaron says Texas tailgating on I-35. They always were headed south. I see that a lot on I-10. I pulled one over one time. Yeah, I did a traffic stop on one time. No English, and it was just like.
Did you give him a ticket?
No, I was like, you know what? Just keep going west until you're outside of my
jurisdiction.
Well, because he had his flashers on. That's why I pulled him over, because I'm like, you can't have your flashers on. And it was like, I mean, I might as well have been, trying to explain calculus to Luna. It just wasn't, there was no registration of anything I was saying. So I was just like, you know what? Have a nice day.
Yeah. Adios.
Yeah. I don't want to dig into this before the cartel comes after me. That's not me.
That's awesome.
But he had like 3 daisy chained vehicles, and then his little flashers were on. And I was like,
wow, that's brave, man.
On.
That's brave.
Now you see it all the time.
The issue is no power brakes, man. No power brakes in a 3/4 ton truck.
It's not even a 3/4 ton truck.
3/4 ton truck.
Minivan towing 2 other like minivans or cars. You're not talking to, like, they have perfected the art of towing things that with vehicles that should not be tow vehicles. Like when you say, "Oh, I can't tow because my tow rating is only 8,000 pounds," they scoff. They scoff. They take their 3,000 pound rating and they're like, you know what? That's enough.
Yeah. Valid.
It's cumulative. Like if
gotta
I tow something, if I have a 3,000 pound rating with my minivan and I tow something that also has a 3,000 pound rating,
6,000. I get it.
6,000 pounds.
I get it.
That I'm, the transitive property of towmanship.
Yeah. It's
cancels itself out. Yeah.
I love it.
Kangi says it's Monday down under, not Mike Tyson.
There.
Good point.
Look at there.
It is Monday somewhere.
That's right. You okay, Mover?
I'm reading the error message at the top of this screen, trying to figure out like the vision test. Anyway, all right. You want to talk about some stuff?
Yeah, we can. We can. What's up first? What do we got?
You wanted to talk about Egypt choosing the J10 over the Mighty Viper. Go with your data.
Yeah, here, Doug. Let's share it. Bam. There it is, the J10. Egypt will replace US F-16s with the Chinese J10. So this actually got sent in, Mover, from a from a viewer. Yes, a request. And by the way, we like those. So if you guys want us to talk about stuff, email me or Mover, and we'll do our best.
Send all hate mail to Gonky, though.
You can send me the hate mail because I don't read it, and it would save me many, many hours of talking Mover off the cliffs.
Wow, dude! Wow, that's
just kidding.
You know what? It's all coming out today. Today is the day that it all.
No,
it's gonna. When is Festivus? When do you air the grievances? Are we there yet?
Vauxhall Follies?
No, Festive. It's a Seinfeld. Anyway, go back.
I think
talking about this.
The day after Thanksgiving until Christmas is airing of grievances.
Really?
Absolutely.
All right.
Gonky.
Well, yeah, naval traditions, Vauxhall Follies. Anyways, Egypt reportedly placed an order for China's J-10C, the Vigorous Dragon.
Hell yeah.
Fighter jets.
What a name.
Yeah, what a name, dude. Combat aircraft were flown at the Egypt Air Show, held September 3rd through the 5th. Basically, the reason is the U.S. made F-16 that the Egyptians have are the older ones. So they have outdated avionics, AIM-7, probably older heaters as well, and older radars. Whereas the J-10 has the most modern equipment that the Chinese can provide. So they're just looking to modernize their fleet. But basically, the viewer that sent this in just asked, "Hey, what are your thoughts on this?" I mean, the F-16 being a very capable Western fighter, against a brand new modernized J-10. I have not flown the Viper, but Mover,
sir,
what's your take on this, man? Being a former F-16 Viper pilot, what's your initial reaction on Egypt looking to replace the
PL-15? Holy crap!
Yeah, that's bad.
that's something. And I noticed it said Egypt recently joined BRICS, which I don't know if you've seen the news, where Trump's basically like, if you try to devalue our currency by joining the BRICS, we're gonna cut you off.
Right.
So I'm interested to see how that's gonna play out. And if this even happens now, because how old is this article versus that announcement? But it's interesting to read that. Especially the AIM-7 stuff, because when I went to the Hornet, I was surprised that capability existed anywhere in the software, because in the Viper it didn't. It was not
really
dude, it was gone. I mean, that was foreign jets could do it, but the current ones could not, because it just was so far gone that we didn't. There was nothing.
Where would they carry it? On the wingtips or under the wings?
An AIM-7?
Yeah, AIM-7 is pretty big.
The only thing you can carry the wingtips, 120 or the 9.
Okay.
But we never carried 9s on the wingtips. It was always 120s.
So you never had the AIM-7?
Never had the AIM-7. Didn't
even
have the
in
ability.
The B course?
You can't even. It won't do it.
Wow.
I don't want to get into radar stuff, but it won't do it.
Wow.
Foreign ones would. Like if you flew against like the Taiwanese Vipers or whatever, those, and I'm sure the Egyptians ones were the same one, because those are all the Block 15s and Block 20s, the MLU. So most foreign Vipers that aren't brand new, other than the Hellenic Air Force, were all early Block 15, 20, and then upgraded from there. The ones we flew, Block 30, 40s, and 50s, were the ones that were not foreign export, so a little different, but we couldn't carry that. So
Right.
I don't know what software the Egyptian Vipers were, but I think some of those Vipers are being used by Red Air companies. I think Egyptian Vipers were one of the ones the State Department was talking about, like Draken or other Red Air companies and stuff. So I don't know. But as far as to answer your question about the J-10, you're not talking apples to apples, right? It's like the equivalent for you of like an A model versus a Super Hornet, A model Hornet versus a Super Hornet. Yeah, you're very, very outdated, and you need to upgrade, because even though it's an F-16, it's really not. It's not anything like what we have today.
Yeah.
So I don't blame them if they can't get something 4.5 Gen Plus.
Yeah. No, you bring up a good point. I mean, just sitting on the ramp, an F-16, two F-16s could look identical, two totally different capabilities.
Right. Yeah. It's just, I mean, I really liken it to like the A plus versus, a C or whatever. You may be like, oh, they look identical, but dude, there's so much behind this. Do you have the fishbowl? Do you have a real, actual display? Do you have a analog fuel gauge, or do you have a digital fuel gauge? For the Viper, it's even more, because now you're talking, what data buses do we have? What can we carry? Can we carry JDAMs? Can we carry more advanced weapons than just what it came with back in the 80s?
Right. Yeah, man. It really kind of depends on. It's not that an old F-16 is useless, right? I mean, I'd be willing to bet the old F-16 is probably a better BFM machine than the new ones, right? Because of weight.
Yeah, but BFM's a bowling sport, man. Who cares?
Right. But all I'm saying, but what I'm saying is, it's not that it's a totally useless airplane, but I mean, you hit the nail on the head with, if you're looking to modernize your fleet and the US isn't going to sell you an upgrade, or newer equipment, then you got to go shopping somewhere else. So, I mean, to me, it just kind of makes sense that Egypt would be looking elsewhere, China, Russia.
It's like anything else, power vacuum. If we're not the ones selling it to them, somebody else will step in. And, I don't know if we've got the Turkey article about Fat Amy, but it's the same thing happening there, where initially we said no. So what did they do? They start doing their indigenous con. And then, because they had the S400, and we said, we're not going to sell you that when you have the S400. And then they turn around and they get rid of it, or they stop buying them. And now we're like, hey, maybe we will sell them to you. And they're like, okay, well, we're interested again. If they're going to find it somewhere, there's some jet is going to be in their arsenal, whether it's Russian, American, or European or Chinese, I mean, and we'll talk about the Rafale there too. Every defense contractor in the world is trying to be just like you dealt with this, Malaysia, right? I mean, you saw firsthand about them companies trying to court countries to have them buy their aircrafts. I mean, tell me about that. How does that work?
It's big money. And the U.S. is at a bit of a disadvantage, because the U.S. holds itself, I guess, like more accountable to more stringent rules when it comes to doing business with other countries, whereas other countries, from what I've seen, can wine and dine a little bit more. That kind of stuff. And not that always matters, but when there's other equipment out there that's really good, comparable, to maybe what we could sell them. I mean, it's the little things that count, right? So,
yeah, the J-10 is from all reports, a very capable aircraft. These missiles that they're talking are very capable missiles. They're very well produced in terms of numbers, and in terms of capabilities. They're rival anything else in the world. So, when they're like, "Hey, what can I go buy to replace this aging fighter?" and we can't give them a Block 70 with brand new AMRAAMs because of their human rights violations or whatever the reason is, then they're going to go. China's not going to have that reservation.
Yeah.
And China and from a strategic standpoint, China has been very adamant in their policy about having a foothold in the Middle East and, Horn of Africa and all the places in that region that they're trying to establish themselves for oil production and other resources that they believe that they could get. So when we leave, they show up.
Yeah. You can't blame them. I would do the same thing if I was a country, right?
Yeah,
I'd at least be shopping. It didn't say they're for sure buying them, but they're looking at them, right? So,
yeah. All right. Moving on to just a couple comments while we're doing this. Brian says, "I'm right on the border. I've seen a box truck with a car in the box and 2 on tow bars and trail a lot."
Wow. I'm impressed.
They buy them at auction and then take them down across the border and then sell them or use them for whatever, human trafficking, drug running. I don't know, whatever they do with them. Yeah. Sicario, great movie. D Stu says, "What do you think flying over, hanging out over Lake and Heath RAF?"
Are you talking about the drones, Stu? I saw.
Or are you offering us the ability to fly to Lake and Heath and then fly in jets?
Yes.
It depends on where this question's going.
Right, exactly.
The order of words is very confusing to me right now. So
there's some nice words in there.
I'm going to pretend like this is an offer to go fly like a Eurofighter, or what else do the Brits have? Tornado? They still have that?
I don't think so, man.
Is this Tim Davies?
They've got the F-35, dude, but it's single seat.
Well, what are we going to do? Yeah, we don't want to fly that.
Strike Eagle.
That would be American.
It would, but they're at Lake and Heath, right?
Well, we're not going to go. We just do that in America. We can go to Seymour Johnson, so to speak.
Yeah. Sorry, Stu. We're missing
He might be talking about UFOs or the drone thing.
Drones, yeah.
We don't have our expert, but my question is, why do the drones always have lights and strobes and stuff? Like, do they adhere to ICAO procedures where they're lighting when they light up? When the UFOs, yeah, a lot of times they're lit, and they'll be like, "Oh, that thing just zipped by," and you're like, "Why did it have green and red lights?" Like, is that universal throughout the universe that we have?
Green, red, you're dead. Of course.
It's like, green, red, you're dead. Red, give way. Like,
that's right. Red, right, returning. Right, something like that.
Like what? Do they all have to do the John and Martha King videos before they fly through space?
If they're going to come into our atmosphere, they need to.
Yeah, they adhere to the ICAO rules.
That's right.
Do they use? Here's the question, though: will they use metric?
No, probably not.
They probably have something better.
They probably do. Yeah, they're like, yeah.
I don't know. Are aliens commies? Who knows?
Sorry, Stu. We tried.
We don't know. But even if we knew what you were talking about, we still don't know. So there's your answer for that. What do you guys think of Su-35 transfer to Iran this week? Saw an article about cargo planes delivering them. Didn't we talk about that a while back? Are they doing the transfer?
I don't know, man. But Max, it's kind of like what we just talked about with the Egyptians. If Iran is looking for an upgrade, they're still flying Tomcats and Phantoms. They're looking to upgrade their fleet.
Speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that segue, Gonky.
What, Tomcats?
Tomcats. So on the Twitter, we got a post taken down, actually.
We did?
We did, sort of, indirectly.
Oh boy.
Because I got tagged like a million times in this. Remember that video that we watched last year of the Tomcat and the F4? And we were like, man, that looks funky. And then the audience was like, dude, it's an RC planes. It's not real.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
remember that? Well,
Yes.
a gun tuber, right? So somebody who has no idea about aviation posted it and said, this just in from, Iran, a Turkish F4 ran off a Iranian Tomcat in an intercept. And it showed like 10 seconds of that clip to make it look like, they were dogfighting. And it's the same thing where they're doing the barrel roll and the wings are swept. And you're like, why are they slow? But the wings are swept. This doesn't make sense. And it got community noted so hard that he deleted it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. In
Wow.
shame.
What?
In shame. Because one of my followers posted it. And I'm like, dude, that's fake news. And I said, the reason I know that is because we bit off on it.
Yes.
Back in a year ago.
Like a
and
year
then our
ago.
audience was like, it's RC. But we looked at it and was like, this doesn't look.
We gave him the benefit. We gave him the benefit of the doubt,
Right. I mean, being the golden retriever and me tired of hate mail, we kind of, allowed it a little bit, but we both said doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back to the guy's question. It's, Iran is looking to modernize not only their military aviation, but their civilian aviation. I mean, I think they're still flying like 74100s and 72s. And, I mean, somebody's going to sell them some jets.
Yeah. It's probably part of the package deal. My question is, can they build enough with their current conflict? Can they, how many is reasonable? I will say, and we said this last time this was reported, which I think this is old. I don't think that, maybe it is, but I remember us talking about this, and I remember us saying, that's not a jet you want Iran to have.
Oh, no.
You got to go to a conflict with them. The MiG-29A and,
F4,
an SA-5 and the F4, like, okay, cool. Double digit SAMs plus the Su-35.
No,
a little bit different, as far
pucker
as
factor's different.
My numbers change significantly with those aircraft.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And then Aaron says my old guard unit was doing AMRAAM training in 94 when I was an ALQ 184 tech. Can't blame them for upgrading. And that's a good point too, is they're not getting AMRAAMs. If you're not selling them upgrades, you're not selling them missiles either. So they have to go with what's compatible and buy jets from countries that'll give them both jets and weapons. Otherwise, what's the point of the aircraft? It's just, now you're just Jared Isaacman flying around in your MiG-29 with no missiles, which I would do, by the way. Just
100%.
Not shitting on the billionaire, not Batman guy, but just saying you need missiles.
I think it's wild mover, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember, so the guy got my ATP off of, he flew F4s, and then he was like some of the first guys to transition to F-16. And memory serves me right, he said the F-16 was guns and winder only.
Yeah. It had like a range only radar or something when it first came out. If it had it was like the F5.
Yeah.
He
said it was a
light
BFM
nose.
machine. He said it was a BFM machine because it only had winder and it only had the gun. And he's like, it was amazing.
Yeah. Say that name, Gonky.
Sigma. Let's just do last name, sir.
Countries are replacing F-16s with fat Amy's. Is this smart? Seems not much can bring down F-35s because of stealth.
Well, it, not to sound like a parrot, but it's it's countries wanting to upgrade their airplanes, and who's to say what model F-16s we're talking about, right? I mean, if they're
they're talking old. If they're replacing it, it's not like they're like, hey, I got this Block 70 here. Oh, no, send it to the boneyard.
Right.
This is their life cycle has ended and they have to buy something.
And I also think that, if you're a country looking to spend a ton of money on a new jet, parts and upgradability and serviceability has to be very important. for the future, because who's to say in 20 years is the assembly line on the F-16 going to be open? Maybe, maybe not. Is it going to be
Hope
open
so.
for the F-35?
Maybe, maybe not, depending
Right.
on Dogie.
That's true, but I mean, that's just, and I'm not, if if I if I had to pick an airplane to go fly, it'd be the F-16 over the F-35. But I'm just saying, like, if you look at it from a
It depends on what we're doing.
I'm just saying for
Yeah.
pure aesthetics, because I'm shallow.
Right. Of course, we understand. You don't open books, so
Right. I
Gonky
only look
doesn't
at
read.
pictures. I only look at the cover, actually.
Yeah. Gonky doesn't read, so he doesn't know what they can do anyway.
This thing shoots.
I can't work technology. What do you mean?
No, I mean, if you just think about, the F-16 potentially, I don't think this, but maybe coming towards the end of its service life. But I see F-35 is kind of still at the beginning, on the way up. Like Mover said, unless the whole program gets canned. I don't know.
Well, and then you have to look at the diplomatic side of things. Like, what are the incentives? Right? I might buy a blue car at MSRP or a red car 10,000 off of MSRP. Which one am I going to take? Probably the one that's off MSRP, because I could use that money elsewhere if I'm going to spend it anyway. So a lot of these incentives and aid packages that come with strings attached, that, hey, you buy, X number of Fat Amy's and we're going to convert this aid to this. And, there's a lot more nuance to it. Boy, nuance, that's something that happens every week. We talk about that a lot.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a good point, Mover. There's much more than just, when you go buy, like, let's say, I don't know, a Z06, right? You just get the car. Right. When you're buying a fighter jet, like, you're getting more than just the airplane. Right.
The warranty. Is the warranty cover your track use or not?
Yeah.
But I mean, it does. The aid packages have the assistance, and a lot of that is part of the problem, which is the lobby, and who does what district gets what, and all that stuff. And I think it's just a lot more political than just, because I think I see this a lot, and I need to stop reading comments, but I think this is common with aviation enthusiasts that have never done this job. Yeah. Remember when we had Rick Abel on the show, and he said F-22 versus F-23, YF-23, it didn't matter which one we picked because they were going to end up the same way. And of course, the magazine people, the nerds, are like, oh my God, no, we lost the greatest fighter in the history of the world. Because I think when you haven't done this job, you look at it and like, like, my car's better than your car's, right? Because like the 0 to 60 right here says, 2.69 seconds versus this one's 2.8 seconds. And I want the 2.69 second one, when the reality is, what does it lead to? What is it when it's actually in production? And because it never matches. It looks nothing like that. And now we're going to go off a tangent, but I think this is a good topic, because our discussion about the F-35 has brought up a lot of misinformation. And I hate that this has forced us to have to defend it, but I do believe the truth matters, because when they talk about the F-35, a lot of them bring up the combat mission capable rate, and whether it's the FMC rates, the fully mission capable rate, PMC versus FMC. And what they'll do is they'll be like, well, it's 40%, or 20%. And they'll be like, well, only 40% of the jets are flyable. And I'm like, that is not what that number means. It doesn't mean that 40% of the jets are flyable. It means that 40%, or whatever the number is, I'm not, we don't have the article right here, but that whatever the percentage is, that is the number of aircraft that have every single feature and thing that they promised that it would have. Even stuff that doesn't, the TR3 mod or whatever, the next upgrade, even stuff that hasn't been delivered yet, it takes into account every single piece of that. It's not, can the jet fly or not? Because we have, Gonky, how many times have you flown a Super Hornet that was, the radar worked, but the data link didn't work, or this worked, but this didn't work?
All the time.
Would you call that a non-flyable aircraft? No, you'd still take that to war.
Yeah. So there was flyable, and then there was mission capable, right?
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
two qualifications. So some jets were flyable but not mission capable. Some were mission capable with some systems not working, like you said. But you're
Exactly.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think people see these numbers and they're like, oh my God, the F-35, like, dude, it has a higher um utilization rate, like maintenance when it turns code 1 rate, than the F-16. And I hate to admit that, but it is a factual statement. They are their sortie rate, their sortie generation, and their ability to keep flying. Now, is every feature working? No, but on on a simpler jet, it's easier to have 100% of your systems working than it is on something that can call in the aliens from space. I mean, dude, it's like when you're promising the world, the percentages get smaller. Now, is that excusing the fraud, waste, and abuse and all the issues that the program has had? Absolutely not. But let's at least be intellectually honest about the downfalls and not say that it's a piece of crap fighter that never flies, because I guarantee you, go to Luke Air Force Base, go to Hill Air Force Base, go to any Air Force base that has gone downrange or used them on a daily basis, and they will tell you this jet flies all the time with no problems.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you, man. And as much as I do like to bag on the F-35 because it's ugly and I'm superficial,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, at some point, you have to kind of, you have to advance, right? And it
Yeah.
really, and like we talked about, two F-16s sitting on the ramp look identical, two totally different airplanes. I mean, the secret sauce in the F-35 is not what you see on the ramp. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So,
nor is it BFM,
right.
nor is it like, dude, the thing is
Exactly.
a situational awareness monster.
Yeah.
It is an information warfare machine in the air. You
Yeah.
cannot just be like, well, because the first time I ever had to defend this jet was I wrote an article for Fighter Sweep because this thing came out that said that the F-35 got its ass handed to it by F-16 with tanks on it. Well, you know why? They were doing defensive BFM sets.
So, yeah, you start out losing.
Yeah, you start out with the dude behind you and get killed. I mean, the idea is to survive as long as possible. Yes. But it was the most bizarre article. Like, somebody had read one piece of test data and was like, 3 out of 5 times F-35 lost against a 2-bag F-16. And you're like, well, what about the other 2 times?
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, it's like the Legacy Hornet and the Super Hornet, man. The Legacy is a much more nimble machine. I would argue that it's a better BFMer.
100%.
But if you got to go to war, I want the latest and greatest, fully loaded, like not as maneuverable, Super Hornet, dude, with all the toys, because it's the toys in modern fighters.
Dude,
it's what's under the skin is what makes it lethal.
If I'm going into contested airspace with surface to air missile threats and it's not safe, it's not, we don't own the air, I want that aircraft or the F-22. Like I'd feel safer in a jet like that than I would in a Block 30 F-16 or even a Block 50.
Yeah. Yeah. But like you said, we're not excusing the, I think the main issue is it's literally like a decade behind. And the whole concept of expanding the envelope while operating it, to me, is crazy. But that's basically what they've done, right? So I mean, there's still
it's the nuance, dude. It's we do not live in a black and white world. We do not live in a we don't do time slips on the drag strip with our magazine racing and the 50-foot rollout, which I think is ridiculous in a car magazine, by the way. But they are like, oh, it's 0 to 60 with a 50-foot rollout. What? No, just start from 0. It's 0 to 60. But my point being, there's stuff that we like, there's stuff that we hate as taxpayers, there's stuff that we like, there's stuff that we hate. It's not a very attractive airplane, which is what we make fun of on a regular basis because we're fighter pilots. And by the way, people are like, why do you hate on this jet? Dude, I hate on every jet that I don't fly. And that's just how, I'll make fun of the Eagle all the time. I mean, As soon as somebody starts 104 to 0, I'll be like, well, I mean, the problem is
Oh, God.
it's getting more difficult in today's society to make fun of the Eagle without getting canceled. It's like the Navy. You can't make fun of the Navy without getting canceled either, because
Make fun of the Navy to me all day long, man. I'll agree with
yeah,
you.
but in private, but not publicly. Oh, geez. Bob says, full versus partial. You've entered my world. Good explanation. You can be at 50% MC and still fly some missions. All depends.
That's right. All depends.
100%. 100%. And then somebody in our comments was like, well, it hasn't even entered operational test. And I'm like, dude, we fought
F-35?
against, we
It's operational.
like it's been operational for a while, and it's been every system that you have has to go through OT&E, because they don't just throw in a piece of software and be like, hey, good luck, boys.
No.
They send it to the OT guy. In fact, I know one of them. Great guy, by the way. He's a former Mako. That is part of that at Eglin. They have been doing OT at Eglin for, you've got two types. You got DT and OT. DT is Edwards, and they're just coming up with something brand new, and it's the first time. OT is, hey, take some fighter pilots and go, practice putting this system in use, whether it's a bomb, a missile, software, or whatever. It's the next step before it goes operational. It's been there for a while. We've been talking about this for like 8 years.
Yeah. Regular line, if you will, or frontline fighter pilots, we're not no testing. It's never like, hey, try this. So like Mover says, you got your test guys that actually dope out every system, figure out its capabilities, and then those guys will send it to your weapons school guys to be like, okay, now do the tactics thing with these things that we just validated. And then once that happens, then it goes down to the operational or the fleet. And for us knuckle draggers, you just push buttons and pull triggers, right? I mean, there's no testing. Mover and I have never done any of that.
No, I mean, I've been on the leading edge of some new stuff that they're like working out bugs with, but I've never like, hey, go see if this works. Good luck, But
it's too regimented.
I just hate that they're making us defend this, dude. That's what drives me nuts. It's like, dude, it just like, okay, it's fine. It's fine.
I still don't like it. Is that okay?
It's fine.
You gotta look good in the break, and how can you look good in the break with that thing?
Dude, it's like an acquired taste.
Ooh, I don't know. I still don't like. No. Okay. Maybe.
When I saw the demo when they're doing the little pedal turn thing, I was like, yeah, that's not bad. Like it's got some capabilities. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Oh, there's no denying it has capabilities. I just wish
that looks good. I'm saying, like, when you look at it, you're like, oh, that part looks good. Yeah. On the ground, very, very unattractive aircraft.
Just imagine like the first Top Gun being flown with F-35s. It'd probably be like right there with Iron Eagle. Nobody would have watched it. It'd be like, this is a horrible movie, dude. There's that airplane looks terrible.
Oh man. All right. Back to the audience.
Sorry.
Who knows says, what do they do with all the leftover NATO ammo? I saw a video of them dumping it in a box and destroying it. And I was like, why?
Really?
Why? I want that cheap.
Really?
Like the Army was doing that. Like they were leaving, their forward deployment base or whatever, and they were all dumping it to destroy before they left.
Yeah,
look at the Taliban. They've got all kind of aircraft and tanks and whatever they want.
Correct. We just give it to the Taliban. That's what we do with the leftover NATO ammo.
Yeah. Sometimes at high velocity, sometimes they just low velocity. It's there.
Yeah.
But they end up getting it one way or the other.
Well, in the operational, Air Force is the same, right? They try to shoot all the old stuff, right?
Yeah, we try to. The Navy, I think we didn't have allocations like the Navy did for like missiles and stuff. We only had allocations for bombs and stuff like that. We never, like, we're at 204 where we actually had, like, I had to do Missile X. We didn't have that. WESIP is the only place that I know of that you'd go shoot.
And what would they do? Just say, hey, you want to go shoot? Sure.
Yeah, because it's all testing. It's part of the test and evaluation. It's part of that. So WESIP is a weapons evaluation platform so that they can get data on. It's a test. It's like, hey, dude, go out and try this missile at this, setup.
do it?
No, I wish I had. Would love
Oh,
to.
man. Yeah, that would be cool, man.
Yeah, everybody I've talked to is like, it's very awesome. I
Yeah,
did
'cause
the 204. We shot the flare.
It'd be cool to shoot a drone down.
No, well, not always, because sometimes they would, either kill it or no warhead. So it wouldn't take the drone out because they wanted to keep the drone. So you didn't always get to kill the drone.
You got to think, even a 9X with no warhead slamming into a QF-16 would have to do some damage.
Well, but I think they had ways of like making it go.
I got you.
Like actually not hitting. They'd evaluate.
Program a miss.
We're going to go to jail, Gonky, is what's going to happen. Aviation Mayhem says, hi, Mover and Gonky. What are the flight characteristics like on the A320 and B737 when empty? Does it climb like a homesick angel?
Well, it's not like we get to just try things in airliners because they're usually full of people and they discourage those things. But I will say the A320, A319, more the A319 handles, at least it feels from a pilot's perspective, a lot like a heavy Super Hornet. It has to do with the flight controls. It's all digital flight controls. You're commanding a performance with the stick, much like the Super Hornet and the Hornets. So as far as climbing goes, yeah, man, on a cold day, the old 319 it climbs pretty good. I mean, it's no fighter jet, but
have you flown an empty 319?
Yeah, I've done an empty 319 toga takeoff, and it's pretty good. I mean,
yeah,
she goes.
Yeah, I've done that with the 7.3. I think I've done one with the Max.
Yeah,
it scoots.
Yeah, geez, my numbers. 319 is, I don't know, it's around 150,000 pound airplane. Both two engines, you're getting 50,000 pounds of thrust. So, I mean, it's very T-38-ish, right? When you look at the thrust to weight ratio. But the thing with the airliner is you got the big wing with the high lift, right? You got the flaps out on takeoff, and the thing just, I mean, it.
Yeah, but it's not like you're like, oh God, it's like autopilot on. Oh, look at the climb rate.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, it turned yellow.
Your hair is not on fire.
No.
Your coffee is lukewarm there.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it won't spill my drink, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. Janitor's back says, change the subject. Is football in the snow overrated? Yes.
I got no opinion on this, but sure, yes.
Who knows says Pax River. Yeah, Pax River is another good example.
Yep. Oh, yeah. All kinds of testing going on up there.
George would like to know, with a U, favorite non-afterburning fighter jet.
A4. I think the Skyhawk. I've never flown the Skyhawk, but
yeah, I would say that's got to be, or A6.
A4
not a fighter jet. A6 is not a fighter jet. Yeah,
A4, A7. Yeah. Well, dude, I mean the A4. Yes, it has the A designation, but on the smaller carriers in the 50s and 60s, that was their carrier defense. That was their role. And of course, they use it in red air, right? So it is pretty good. It is good in the air-to-air arena.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A4. I think A4 would have to be
scooters.
Wicked Spider Black says, second time, hi, gentlemen, relaxing Sunday. I might have missed the first time. And Janitor's back says, better punches in college football than in my last fight, Mike Tyson.
I did see something about that. There was some sort of fight at a foosball game.
All right, Gonky. I've got news for you.
Hit it. Oh,
Rafale refuels the A400. I showed you this and you're like, you mean from the other direction? I'm like, no, dude. Check this out.
Did he reverse pump the fuel?
Yeah, I'll share it. I got it, Doug. You don't have to.
Yeah, Doug summarized it perfectly. That ain't right.
Nope.
This hurts my feelings, man.
Why? So the French Navy Rafale fighter refuels A400 airlifter mid-flight for the first time
But why?
to
Dude.
test the capabilities of a new refueling pod. The Narang
Oh.
refueling pod, developed by Safran Aerosystems, was designed for use with the Rafale F3R standard. It enables the Dassault fighter jet. Why everybody got to be a fighter jet? Just fighter. To operate as a small tanker aircraft, commonly called buddy refueling. In the French military, this mission is colloquially known as Nunu, which means nanny. Dude, we just learned something new here.
Oh, new.
Yeah, the Nunu allows a flow rate of between 750 and 1,000 liters per minute against 530 liters for previous generation. Sounds like a lot of liters of cola. This new pod also integrates new features, functions such as self-tests or assistance in locating faults, thus simplifying maintenance ops. At present, the Rafale M can only refuel other Rafale fighters while in flight, since the French Navy's E-2C Hawkeye. Damn it, Wombat, where are you?
Yeah, but
I
can theirs
I didn't know
refuel?
they had that. I did not know the French Navy had. I thought we were the only ones with the Hawkeye.
Can they
And
refuel?
that's the
though?
C.
Did it say
It does not. No, it says it does not. It will be when they get the 3 E2D advanced Hawkeyes to the Flotilla 4F in 2027. It's a small propeller on the front of the nacelle to generate power for the fuel pumps. Is that how the Super Hornet worked? How'd you generate power for that thing? You had a little spinny thing?
Yeah.
Gonky, what do you think about this news?
I think new is just a terrible idea, man. I've said it before. I mean, you roll up behind a Super Hornet and they're like, hey, we want to give you 500 pounds. And it's like, it took me 500 to get here, dude. It's like, can I get 1,500? It's like, no. Like, right.
Can you imagine like the U.S. Air Force is like, you know what? That's a great idea. Take the 5-wet Super Hornet and we're gonna come up to you with the KC-46 and see what we can do.
Oh, yeah. No, that Airbus A400 was surely burning more fuel than it was sucking out of that
They had to shut engines down just to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I didn't know that the French use fighters to fuel fighters. I think it's a bad idea, man, because most of this mover fighters always operate in like fuel critical situations.
I'm always emergency fuel.
Correct.
I don't have any to give you, especially not 400,000 pound aircraft.
Yeah, correct. Or even if another fighter comes up behind you, in the Navy, we had S3s and Super Hornets as tankers, and the S3 hands down, like light years better, can give you more fuel, a better platform. You can hear yourself think. The engines weren't rattling your fillings out. I mean, yeah. And plus, dude, you're using, the Rafale is an expensive high tech aircraft, and you're using it. No disrespect to tanker guys, you're using it to just haul fuel around. You know what I'm saying?
I think the saying just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Applies to putting an A400 on the probe. Dude, I mean, your Super Hornet can refuel the Hawkeye.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you 1,500 pounds, not 1 pound more.
I will give you 1 extra minute of fuel, and that is it. Like what? I don't. Yeah.
I
mean, obviously, jokes aside, they were doing it just to show that they could, right? That there was no practical application of.
Well, they were testing. They were testing the new pod, right? It can flow more liters or cola or whatever that is.
But the testing they could have done with another.
Oh yeah.
Fall. Like they probably did. This was for a photo op, just like that time that the helicopter hauled Fat Amy around. Just to show you we can do it. Like sometimes we have to do the ridiculous. I want to see a Super Hornet and a C-17.
Oh yeah. I don't know, man.
You're gonna have to figure out how to put a boom on a EX, because the Air Force doesn't have.
That's right. There's no probe, right? There's no. Yeah.
Well, dude, so the Chinese can do this too because we just showed a video of the
The-
Su-33s or
No,
whatever
that
the
was the
Chinese.
Malaysian Su-30s.
No, the Chinese one. Remember where we're like, why is
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah.
probe? They did the flyover. Yeah,
Yeah, the Navy, the Chinese Navy flankers.
yeah, yeah. So they can take, and they have a A400 looking thing as well, a prop
Yeah,
aircraft.
they
It looks
do.
very similar to that. They could do the Timu version of this.
New,
New.
not Timu.
What is it in Chinese? What's nanny in Chinese?
I don't know, dude.
Mandarin.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, the possibilities are endless. I mean, we should just come up with as many bizarre. Next is the helicopter, dude. You'll have the SAR helicopter, Osprey. We should take the Osprey and the Super Hornet.
Yeah.
Put the gear down too.
Multi-role should have its limitations. Like okay, now you're just showing off. Okay,
yeah. We get it. You can give them 50 pounds.
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate. Thank you for your service.
I think I really do think it's a cool photo op, though. I mean, like you said,
100%.
Total publicity thing. I mean, look, we're talking about it, right? So I mean, I think it's a cool shot, man, and it's. I'm sure the guys flying it, both in the tanker and the fighter, were having a good laugh because I would. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Dude, remember Top Gun Maverick and Hangman showed up with every piece of armament from the entire war? They should have had a scene with him refueling somebody. They should have just added that.
Him refueling Maverick in the Tomcat.
Yeah, in the Tomcat. Yeah, he could have refueled Maverick and then the Hawkeye. Like he could have refueled them both. And while he's refueling the Hawkeye, Fox 3 kills the Su-57, dude. That I just rewrote it, made it better. Wombat approved.
Hey, Top Gun 3 or whatever
Top
they're
Gun
called.
3,
Maverick 2, Hangman 1, whatever.
Hang Maverick, Mav. Yeah. All right.
I like it.
New. Your new is showing. Thomas says, did you guys see the new Russian carrier? The island was in the center. Fake news?
I think that was the Chinese carrier. So
yeah, the Russians do the jump jet thing.
Yeah, and I don't think the Russians are building any carriers right now. But yeah, Thomas, I saw what you were talking about. The I don't know what the deal is with that carrier. All I know is the main like tower superstructure is like very large and it's not, I don't know, it's like it's not normally what you would see with like a fixed wing aircraft carrier. So I don't know. I saw that article though. It's weird.
Holly Movie Star says, is it bad idea Air Force One won't have in-air refueling? Did you not see executive decision where it blew up the tanker? This is to save tanker pilots.
I think Holly's asking about maybe the Dash 8, the new one coming out, right? Aren't they building a new one?
I thought Boeing was losing a whole bunch of money on that one. Wasn't that the one where they're like, hey, we can't do what you wanted us to do, so we're losing like $1 billion on this?
Yeah. Plus that, can't that airplane like go around the globe twice? I mean, it's a 74-8.
I could see the idea of, hey, we want refueling, that you need that, right? Because you want POTUS, because remember 9/11, they stuck W on the Air Force One, but then they landed at Barksdale. So, I mean, he didn't refuel, did he? He went from Florida to Shreveport. I can't imagine that they needed gas after that.
Well, and here's the other thing, man, is no one's going to know the true capabilities of the new Air Force One. I mean,
yeah, Skid might.
He might have
Skid might still be on the text chain.
Yeah.
It says,
Skid, put it in the comments, all the classified. Don't do that.
Send all classified to Gonky's email, please.
I mean, that's going to be the president's airplane is pretty highly classified.
Yeah.
what it can do.
Highly. Yeah. We will kill you with this information.
Yeah. It's like a giant fat Amy, sort of.
No,
just kidding.
dude.
I'm just kidding.
7.4 looks way better.
It does way better. You're right. The 74-8 is a great looking airplane.
It's so much
It's
better.
way more athletic looking.
Yeah. Speaking of fatties, Gonky,
Wild, dude.
NTSB report. I guess, Doug, you already have this. I see you highlighting stuff. Yeah.
Bring it up. There you go.
So this came out recently from the Australian government.
Yep.
Australian Transport Safety Bureau. Inadvertent rudder trim input led to 737 in-flight upset. A pilot of Virgin Australia 737 inadvertently input full left rudder trim when they intended to activate the flight deck door switch, resulting in the in-flight upset and a cabin member sustaining a minor injury. The two switches are similar in their operation, are situated close to each other on the flight deck aisle stand panel between the two pilot seats. The captain basically reached for the switch and looked up from the switch and then looked and reached just by feel, grabbed the flight deck door, held it was looking for the flight deck door, held the rudder trim for 5 seconds, which gave them full left rudder input. Autopilot reached the limit, and then the aircraft began to increasingly roll to the left. The first officer, who was the pilot flying, attempted to counter the turn, first with heading mode, which did nothing. And then by disconnecting the autopilot, manually applying almost full right aileron input to counter and then correct the left roll.
Wow.
After control of the aircraft had been regained and the flight crew began to troubleshoot the situation, the pilot flying needed to hold about 35 degrees of right wing down control wheel displacement to counter the induced roll caused by the rudder trim input. During this troubleshooting, the pilot monitoring checked the rudder trim indicator, identified the inadvertently applied trim, and applied right rudder trim to neutralize the rudder position. Notice no one had ever used the actual pedals. The bank peaked at 42 degrees, triggering a bank angle alert, bank angle, a jip whiz alert, or from the jip whiz, and then a cabin crew member sustained a minor injury while stabilizing a food service card. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that. They then went to Melbourne without incident. When selecting activate any control switch, critical flight should ensure the intended control or switch is positively identified. Further, it's important that any accidents are reported to the operator. Scroll up, Doug. We'll show the pedestal one more time now that we've read this. On the 7.3, you can see there, flight deck door unlock is on the FO side. It's auto unlocked or deny. You got the stab trim, and then you got the rudder, and then the rudder indicator, because this is from a 707.
Right.
Gonky.
Yes, sir.
Thoughts?
Well, when you first told me about this, I thought, I bet those two knobs are similar, right? Because in aviation, like generally speaking, the flap switch kind of feels like a flap. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The gear handle,
the wheel.
Yeah, it feels kind of like a wheel, a landing gear.
Wheel.
Yes. So in the Airbus, an aircraft designed in this century, if you want to open the door, it's an actual switch, and then to trim the rudder is an actual big old knob, kind of like the 7.3 has. Which I wanted to ask you, man. So in the Airbus, when you turn the trim all the way, it trims at 1 degree per second, so it's very slow. So I guess the 7.3 trims pretty quick, because he said he held it for what, 4? Did you say 4 seconds?
5 seconds is what they said.
5 seconds. So
which
like
is 40 degrees of, or whatever it said, 40 something.
So that's pretty fast.
It's not fast when you lose an engine. I could swear I was skipping leg day with how much pedal it took when you lost the engine and you had to trim it out. It took forever. Like, yeah. I read 5 seconds. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way it takes 5 seconds to get full trim, because I would sit there and hold the damn thing going, oh God, my leg. Okay, good. We're good.
Yeah. I hope for us, engine out's about 15 degrees. So the trick is you just hold it, you count to 15 in your head, which takes forever. It's very, it's a very gentle.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, the moral of the story here is, the different shapes for switches probably is valid, right? So if you look at those two switches, they're relatively similar and the relative
They're
same.
not even close to the same.
One's larger than the other. That's it, right? It's
One's round and one is like triangle, like two triangles.
They're both round, aren't they? Did I not see that right?
That was not round.
Doug, bring it back up. Let me see.
Dude, that is not a round switch.
Oh, dude, you're right. My bad.
They're not even close.
Sorry, the blackness
Whoa.
on the rudder.
Easy, Gonky.
No, I mean the color.
Yeah,
see
dude,
what
that's not even in the same universe.
Well,
So
dude, look, dude, I was trying to now I'm like, I don't know. I got nothing because that's I will say this. So people make mistakes. When I was a new guy in the Hornet, you know, in the Navy, when you hit the merge, if you put the hook down, that means, you know, don't shoot. I'm a good guy. That's how you ID, right? And we're practicing IDs. And this dude in a Hornet, he's going supersonic. He's a new guy. And he's like, oh, crap, forgot to put my hook down. Do the gear down. Right? So the gear is on the left side. The hook's on the right. No. Door stayed on. No damage to the airplane.
What?
Correct. Yeah. We were all joking at the time, like, well, I guess the airspeed limitation needs adjusted. But, you know,
wow.
You know, when you're not paying attention, right? You can be qualified, well-trained with experience in the airplane. Sometimes just stuff happens. You know, like that story I just told, people have done, you know, I know in the Airbus all the time, I get, you know, just managing the autopilot. I get you know, sometimes I get the heading mixed up with the speed and the speed mixed up with the heading just because, you know, we're all human. You know, I catch it right away, but in this case, I guess they were at 42 degrees before they figured it out. But I don't know, Mover, you flew the 7.3, man. I mean, what's your take on it?
I'm glad you went first, Gonky, because if you had rolled in the less kinder, gentler way, I might have been a little bit more scorched earth on this one. Because it really is buffoonery. I mean, dude, I agree with you. There, by the grace of God, go I. Anything, like I could be the next, you know, report where we're like, look at that idiot, or we could end up on somebody's recurrent training. And it could happen to me. However, there's a couple things that stand out about this. Number one, I've flown the 737, and dude, like it takes an eternity to get the rudder trim to move. And to not notice that the whole time, that's number one. Number two, why are they even messing with? Dude, I never mess with that switch. Like, there was no reason to unlock that door.
Well, maybe he had to go to the bathroom, dude, or he's getting a Coke.
Yeah. You know what you do? You get up. Like that. There is no situation. No.
Don't you still have to unlock the door?
No.
Oh. See, in the Airbus, you have to unlock the door, and it goes.
There's no situation where you should need to do that. I've never touched that switch except to test it.
So what exactly does the switch do?
It unlocks. So you saw it had three positions: deny, auto, and unlocked. Unlocked is like somebody's at the door. Unlocked, they can open it.
Or you can just go up there and turn the.
If it's an auto, you can go turn the thing and open it. So
maybe it's their procedure at whatever airline.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into security procedures and all that stuff. Yeah. So I mean, but my point is, if you're going to use a switch that could gain or lose access in the cockpit, you need to be damn sure what you're doing is correct. Because if he had been doing something else and grabbed the unlock thing and somebody's beating on the door, we just lost an air. You know what I'm saying? Like that's.
Oh yeah.
If you're going to use that switch,
yeah,
you need to be 100% sure. That's number one. Number two, and I'm going to throw out the views are my own, and don't represent any airline or anything like that. It has been, I don't know how you guys trained it. So in 2001, right after 9/11, we lost, the U.S. carriers lost an A300 out of New York. Remember that? November 12th, I think was.
Yeah, the rudder pedal guy.
Rudder pedal guy. The reason we lost that was because prior to that, and I've seen the video, they've actually shown us the video. There was a guy that was doing upset training for airliners, and his thing was what you and I know as fighter pilots, right? What's most effective at high AOA? Your rudder, right? Low AOA, use your ailerons. High AOA, rudders. And that's what they were taught. Like if you get upset, you roll, use the rudder to roll because that'll do it. What this FO did was they got in a little bit of wake turbulence, and he full deflection one way, full deflection the other, and stressed, basically sheared the tail because you can't go. It's not made to do full deflection like that. And as a result, recently, right, because people look back and say, how do we lose airplanes and all that stuff? They say, keep your feet on the floor. Don't use the rudders at all. Like we went from one extreme of, hey, you're going to shear the tail off to don't use the rudders at all, which for 99% of the people, that is correct. But it ignores a little bit of aerodynamics, right? Because still at slower speeds, your rudder is going to be more effective. It doesn't change. You just don't need to be slamming controls. I mean, that should have been the lesson learned. Look at this incident. They allowed it to go, what did you say, 40 something degrees? Not once did anybody put in any rudder inputs, while the issue was the rudder. Dude, you look at the primary flight display and you see the arrow of which indicates the aircraft, and then the little white line, and they're displaced because you're in yaw.
Well, you can feel it too.
Right. You could feel it happening, but then you could feel that, and nobody thought to do, hey, dude, step on the ball. Step on. We do this when we lose an engine, but instead the FO cranks in the control wheel after trying to spin the heading bug. Like, dude, that's airmanship. That's like pilot 101. And I think some of it stems from, we have one miss. I love the aviation safety industry, but sometimes we're like, oh, we had a mishap where a guy sheared off the rudder. Let's never use the rudder again. And so when something like this happens, the instinct is not, hey, which is what we're trained, by the way, click off the autopilot and auto throttles and fly the plane, and then assess, am I out of trim? Am I in a situation where the airplane is not where I do? Let me try to put that little boot of rudder in. And I'm not saying slam it. I'm not saying do anything. I'm just saying do the stuff you were doing in your rest of your career until you got to this point.
Yeah, all valid. I agree with you. However, I will say, I'll ask, does I didn't catch what model 7.3 this is, but
I was 800, I think.
So the 800 doesn't have digital flight controls, right? It's all,
No.
Yeah. See, so in the Airbus, you wouldn't touch the rudders. If it was rolling to the left, you would give it stick to the right. However, like you said, man, if you put in full rudder deflection on any airplane, like that's going to throw you. Like you're going to feel that yaw. And I don't care if you've only flown Cessnas or fighters, like that's a very distinct, and in the airline world, very uncomfortable situation to be in. And then I would think you would instinctively push the rudder to put yourself back, right, in harmony, if you will, get the yaw out of there. Second, sitting here thinking about, I can understand why the FO first spun the heading, because if the thing just started turning left, it's like, why does it turn left? I want to go back to the right. Right. And then,
well, he was probably in LNAV.
Yeah.
So it would have had to disconnect unless he was in heading select already. I don't know what, whether they were on a heading or not, but typically if it's an LNAV, the jet's just going to try to figure it out.
Right. And I guess it sounded like it could, and that's why it kicked off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree, dude, for sure. Like for sure, basic airmanship in the airline world, I think across, even for me, has suffered, because you know what? They don't want you. They want you to stay autopilot on, don't touch anything, couple it up, everything. They actually don't want you to do any of that pilot shit, more or less.
Yeah. And like, I just went through this with upset recovery training, where they're like, keep your feet on the floor, keep your feet on the floor. And I'm like, dude, I'm at 150 or 60 knots like this.
Yeah.
What's going to roll the aircraft? It's not going to be this. It's going to be that easy. Yeah. It's just when you have a one size fits all approach, and you've got data that says this one guy did this and we never want to see this again, you go, what's easier to train? It's easier to train. Keep your feet on the floor. Don't do this. We don't want to see any rudder inputs. Now, in the 7.8, it'll put the rudder inputs in for you, just like your Airbus. So that's more valid. But I think if, as far as basic airmanship goes, it is disturbing that it was allowed to get to this point, and the answer was, well, I guess we're going to get into the jip whiz. Like, dude, I mean, we got to the point where it said bank angle, and wasn't unreasonably uncomfortable, where you're like, dude, the triangle and the block had to be like this. I mean, dude, there was no way that thing was in trim.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, dude, if you got full aileron cranked in, it's still going the wrong way. You're going to put in rudder. That's all you got left, right?
Right.
I mean, yeah. Dude, it's a head scratcher. But like you said, I mean, I'm perfectly capable of making these mistakes.
I agree. I mean, dude, that's the thing I hate to talk about, the stuff, because it's like, dude, anything can happen to me, and I'm not poo-pooing the training, because the training exists because of what they believe is the best practice for the mass of pilots, right? It's not made for Gonky #1 fighter pilot to roll through. It's made for Gonky, I haven't flown in 6 months, to pass. Right. Which are two different people.
Yeah. Usually it's the same guy, but yes.
I get what they're saying. I just wish they were a little bit more like, hey, we're teaching you this because of this, but don't forget the fact that you're actually a pilot and stick and rudder skills. Because remember, Sully did stuff that they never trained in the sim.
Yeah.
And didn't forget his stick and rudder skills from gliders and all that stuff. So let's not forget that we are pilots.
That's where all your experience, that's where you make your money, right? But I keep hoping that I never have to make any money. Like I like cruising around the autopilot on, man.
Right. All right. We got some things from the audience. John says, nope, we'll talk about that. This is still relevant to this. Aaron says that crash made us reevaluate everything we know about maneuvering speed, but I'm a tailwheel pilot and I agree with your take on this. It was, that the A300 crash was full rapid deflections under turbulent conditions. If you had just put in a little bit of rudder, or just this is a non-event, right? But it's the bam, bam, like obviously the jet has stress. Like if you did full aileron controls, you'd probably roll couple at that, in that situation.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've studied this accident as well, but I think that because the FO was flying, I think he had a history of this, right? Didn't they go back in his training and was like, yeah, he did this in the sim, and they told him like, don't do that.
Yeah. And they went after
it scared him.
They went after the guy that was training them to do that. They said, well, that's what we were taught. We were taught high AOA, because that's basic aeronautical knowledge. Yeah. That's like you're in a fight with just any fighter, dude. If I want to get the nose around and I'm at high AOA, my feet are going to do the talking. It's not going to be ailerons, which are mush, but it's hard to condense that. I wish we had Wombat on for this segment, because it's hard to condense to a training syllabus something that works for 15,000 or whatever pilots in every aircraft.
Well, in every scenario too, right?
Right.
You kind of have to use your judgment. You have to use your judgment sometimes. So,
yeah. I mean, in the military, we were given more scenarios than I've been given in the airliner.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Like it's.
But that's because in the airline world, they train you to operate exactly in the middle of the envelope.
Exactly.
So that means the scenarios are much smaller, more focused, right? But in the military, it's like, all right, if you're at beyond the envelope, it's this. At the edge,
you're in the horn, but you still have the ability to push the nose over. But if you're, dude, I mean, I went up to Edwards, and we went up to 40,000 feet, put all the fuel aft, inverted, and I did an inverted flat spin because that's part of the profile. Dude, I've never been more sick in my life, because that's the worst. That negative G sucks. But
you saw it, right? So
I saw it.
You knew how to recover.
I got confidence from it. I knew how to handle the aircraft at the absolute limit of what it would do versus this situation, which is nowhere near the limit. This was like an Austin Powers train wreck. The amount of time it took for the rudder trim to actually affect the flight path to the point that they got a JIPWIS alert was like the Austin Powers, like, no, because dude, it did not happen fast.
Yeah, it's so funny, man. The cultures though are so different. Like I could see. I mean, I like to think that stuff like that wouldn't happen to me, but I like when I sit and think about it, I'm like, man, I could see how these things kind of get you. It's always super slow and steady in the airliner, right? Only because you got people in the back. You don't, you don't want to throw the carts around. You got, older people who are, can't.
Flight attendants, Gonky.
The older
Stop bullying the flight attendants.
I meant some of the passengers. Yeah, some of the flight attendants are older too.
Oh,
I'm not gonna judge.
All hate Mel Gonky.
Oh,
I baited you on that one, dude.
Yeah, you did.
I totally walked you into that.
They're not all bubbles, all right?
Well, they used to be. Code Monkey says, and thank you. As an avionics FSW engineer, my view is my code is an aid to the pilot and cannot replace stick and rudder pilot skills, even though I'm continually given requirements to do so by the customer. Right. Because the airline's job is to mitigate their loss potential. And so they want to push you. They want to make the middle of the envelope so small that you can't escape it, which is impossible because there's always going to be something new.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even a slight deviation from the middle, they want to hear about it.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see how much trouble we get in for this one now. John B says, my understanding is that current Air Force One used the refueling only once or twice. A docent at Castle Air Museum told me his son, a boom operator, did one. Cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
I saw it on the documentary Executive Decision, and it did not work out well for the KC-10 crew.
Yeah, they didn't make it.
Holly Movie Star says, on topic, would be cool to get Mentor Pilot on the show. He's in Spain.
Is he in
the
Spain?
Only problem? Yeah, he's in Europe. So
it'd be like 2 o'clock in the morning for him right now, wouldn't it?
If we can get him hopped up like we got
Tim Davies.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
All hopped up on Mountain Dew.
Dude, that was Tim at like 2 and 3 in the morning. Imagine how he is like during normal hours.
Watch his show. That's all you have to do. I
do watch the show. I love it.
Ethan apparently has not watched the last hour and a half of this show because he says, why all of the never-ending hate for the F-35 Fat Amy?
You're the one that called it fat, Ethan.
Just rewind. No. Just use the search. Scroll back. We're
superficial.
We've talked about it. It's not hate. Like, dude, and I think that's what's happening here. Like, you can make fun of your kid brother or whatever, but if somebody else does, that's where we take offense. Like, we can call it Fat Amy, but if the people are like, it's got an FMC rate of 40, that means it never flies. You're like, come on, dude. Okay, you're an idiot. Here's why.
Ethan, this is how that works. This is how this works. If I'm flying Legacy Hornets, I'm making fun of Super Hornets. If I'm flying Super Hornets, I'm making fun of Legacy Hornets. If I'm flying F-16s, I'm making fun of F-15s. It's
circle of life.
It's the high school rivalry at the fighter pilot level.
Dude, testosterone and
if I was flying the F-35, I'd be like, guys, I can't talk about it, but that's the greatest jet ever.
Yeah. I'd be like, this Panther is awesome.
Yeah. It works 60% of the time.
It's not a battle penguin. It's not Fat Amy. It's the Panther, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Gosh, yeah.
My scuba suit I wear out to the jet is the coolest thing I've ever been seen in. I look like an astronaut.
Yeah, it's like I can see everywhere.
I've got a race car harness.
Yeah. And you're all
twisty
dead.
Buckle. Yeah.
You're all dead.
And I saw you all from the moment you took off to the moment you peed in your piddle pack to the moment you landed.
100%, man. If I was flying the F-35, I'd be like, it's the greatest jet ever. We need to be pumping them things out of the factory.
Yeah. Exactly, dude. People just don't get it.
I hope you would disown me though, Boomer.
Tom Pasco says, "Do you keep confusing Kurt Russell and Harrison Ford? Movie was Air Force One with exploding tanker. Shame mover. Look,
Yeah.
dude, I don't know. Whatever.
Did you say Kurt Russell?
I've said executive decision. I thought it was executive decision. It's Air Force One.
Yeah, executive decision
Was Steven Seagal.
He died.
Yeah,
in the
he
stealth
died.
fighter.
Spoiler alert. But yes, yes.
I haven't seen it.
I have ruined all of the movies, and apparently,
Kurt Russell could have totally played that though.
yeah. Get off my plane.
Yeah, that could be
Executive Force One is probably the answer. Gonky.
Oh yeah, Chinese J20.
Doug Doors AFK. I hope he comes back because we got to talk about your.
Is Doug gone?
He stepped out for a minute,
Oh boy,
but he just did that. So
I did that. Can you scroll?
I know it's on his screen.
Hold on, let me pull it up. Let me pull it up on my. Let me tell him a joke. Tell him a joke, dude.
Fat Amy.
Fat Amy, yes. Whoops.
Ilias, do not use this part.
Yeah.
When editing, do not.
Hold
Luna,
on.
come here. We need a Luna cam.
Here we go.
Well, I mean, dude, we got enough of the image right
Here we
there.
go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, now we
Hold
get
on.
to look at your ads. Great.
Dude. Hold on. Here we go. Can you see?
Yeah, got it.
All right, dude. So this is the first clear image of the J20 firing the PL-10 short-range air missile from its right side internal weapons base. So I guess it's part of expanding the envelope on this thing. It's got, being a stealth fighter, right? It's got internal weapons, but let's see here. Actually, there was a clip, dude. Oh no.
You're clipping.
Am I clipping?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Dude, why is it all there's nothing there?
Want to try mine?
I don't know. So right there,
All right.
right there is
Doug's
supposed
back.
to be the
Doug's
clip
back.
of the
Doug's back. Doug's back.
Hold on.
Hit it.
All right, Doug. Hey, can you scroll down? Scroll down.
He
the
came
video.
in the third act to save us. It's Douglas. He's back.
Yeah.
It's not a clip here. It's just a picture.
Yeah, dude. No. Scroll
can't find
down.
the
There's a.
Scroll down here.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. Hit it.
It's
It's
loading in a different
riveting.
tab.
So there's a for the podcasters, the J20 flying straight and level, and PL-10 coming off.
Well, let's see. Let's do that.
Do we need to? Like,
There it
did we
is.
really
Look at
need
that.
that video? It looks like any other missile. Didn't do anything fun. Cool.
Well, it proves the fact that PL-10's shooting. But hey, Doug, all right, pause that. Scroll down really quick. I just wanted to show. So this thing's supposed to be a stealth fighter, and I know I was kind of doing a bit of a deep dive in this thing, right? So it's J20, Chinese answer to the F-22. Right, keeping it LO. Keep scrolling down. Doug,
Donkey,
there's a
when did this
picture-
happen?
Oh no, stop right there. There you go. So Mover, what do you see there, man? So it's a
Blue
picture of a
missiles.
Yeah, it's a picture of a J20 with the bay doors open. And dude, look, they've got external stores on this thing too.
On the chin mounts.
Yeah. So remember when we had Rick, right, the engineer?
Mm-hmm.
We asked him about the J20, right? He was talking about, well, the nozzles aren't very stealthy. He's calling out all the stealth things that would contribute to it not being as LO as US designs. And then of course, man, if it's carrying missiles on the outside of it, I mean, for sure that's going to affect its radar signature. But hey, the J20, it can at least shoot a PL-10. If you read the article, that's
Doug, scroll up. Go to the top of the article, please.
Larger, longer range missiles won't fit inside that bay. So I guess if they're going to carry them, they got to carry them on the outside,
All the way to the top.
which would be no bueno in a BVR.
Okay.
BVR engagement.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat said it was a year old, but it is not. So
Yeah. No,
Um,
man. We're not that bad.
yeah, we're not
Come
that
on.
bad.
I don't know, Mover. What do you think? What do you think, man? Freaking J10.
I can just picture the weapons school nerds renaming everything now. Just like, oh, well, we saw one launch, so now we're not going to call it that anymore.
Right.
and us having to learn all new stuff. It did talk about the PL-15.
It's too big.
Yeah. Everything looks nice and snug and cozy. I don't know if they can double them up in there, but that's a 4x2 loadout.
Yep.
Or a 6x0 loadout, which is not the best when you talk, how many missiles. And that goes to the like spam RAM versus LO argument. Like if you had an EX with 12 missiles versus,
right,
these guys are, Winchester going home, and the EX is still out there capping and probably sees this aircraft because of what you just mentioned.
And I don't see any wing station potential.
That's not to say that they don't. I mean,
true.
It just might not be. I mean, they may be able to throw them on the wings, but again, I would want, if I'm doing a pure air-to-air mission, right? Because the only time you really want wing stores is in, day whatever of the war where stealth doesn't matter and you're a bomb truck.
Yeah.
If you've got to throw stuff on the chin mounts, that kind of defeats the purpose. And so if you're day one of the war, the only thing you got is 4 missiles, which is, I mean, what else you got?
I mean, yeah, it's not that 4 missiles isn't nothing to sneeze at, but like you said, man, I mean, it's, yeah, I know. And I can't, what is that on the chin? Is that an adder?
What's that? IR missiles, yeah.
Is it?
Scroll down to the tweet, Doug. Apparently the tweet was a year old.
Really?
And November 9th, 2023.
Oh, look at that, dude.
We got bamboozled.
Wow.
Old news, Gonky.
Old news reported recently.
And we are just propagating the cycle.
It'll happen every once in a while, man.
All right. Aaron says Gonky's OnlyFans page loads slow too. What do you show? Your feet? Like, what's your...
dude.
What's your... Make a choice. Dude, look, it's 8:30. So what else you want to talk about before we...
Here, dude, I got the... Here, put this up.
I got the China training thing. You want to talk about that?
Here, put the...
Su-57?
Yeah, the cockpit.
Okay, do it.
Dude, I don't have it up. Do you have... There it
Doug's
is. Look
got
at
it.
Doug. There it is, man. Finally, the Su-57 cockpit. T-50, Su-57, whatever.
Can you make it viewable by those of us? Yeah.
Enhance.
Just click on it. Click on it. Does it not expand into a...
There we go. That's mo better. Yeah. So there it is, man. The cockpit looks like it's got a mix of some switches and a lot of screens. I don't know if they're touch screen, but it looks...
Oh, they have to be. Yeah, the center screen's got to be all touch screen.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a heads-up display in there, a large HUD.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it looks like a modern cockpit, man. I don't know what the screens can do, as far as functionality goes, but I mean, it looks like a rather modern cockpit, but how they have the displays sorted, how you can manage them, are they easy to manage with HOTAS or voice or thought or whatever? I don't know, but
Firefox.
Yeah, exactly, man. Come on.
They got the seat cover on because they, it's
Seat
like your grandma's
on.
couch. You don't want anybody to...
That's right, man. No boot marks on it. Looks good. What do you think?
I mean, obviously, that's a lot of display real estate, which is good. It's interesting that they are still using the center stick. To me, especially if you see the short pedestal that it's on. So, you've got the ejection seat handle that is basically butted up to your aft. Like if you went aft stick, you'd be in your own ejection seat handle.
Well, it depends, man. I mean, obviously it's fly by wire, and like the F-16, how far back did you move the stick?
But that was a side stick. This is a full. This is probably a full control like the Hornet.
Yeah.
I mean, I doubt it's pressure sensitive like a Viper, because you'd want it side stick if you had that. Like the Raptor's the same way. It moves a little bit. Like it moves more than the F-16, but it doesn't move like a Hornet. This is more like the Hornet, where it's going to give you full control, which I agree with you. There are some good arguments that that's a better, and it's easier to transition from an aircraft that has it to, like if you got a pilot coming from the Su-30 or Su-35 or even Su-27, hopping into this jet where it's the same feel is going to be a pretty 1-for-1 swap, versus it does take some getting used to do side stick, although it's not a big deal. You get used to it after one flight. But I'm just saying, the way that seat handle is, it seems like you're kind of like a lot of stuff is happening in a very critical space.
Yeah, generally speaking, I haven't sat in this thing, but generally speaking, I would say Western, the man to machine interface on Western designed airplanes has been a little better, but I don't know, man. That you're right. That stick is up on
it's like a pedestal.
Yeah, it doesn't go all the way to the floor, does it?
Right. No, it's like a very short throw.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
For the Russian trolls, none of this is hating on. I'm just pointing out observations.
Yeah. It's just different from what we're used to.
Right. But also keep clicking because it helps Gonky with his RV fund.
I will say this, so the thing I didn't like about having the center stick in the Hornet was I had to, if I was flying BFM, I had to run the seat all the way down. So I didn't hit my leg when the G suit would inflate. But when I was doing CAS or coming aboard the ship, I like to run the seat as high as I could without my head hitting the top. And that's because the control stick was long enough, when you were doing, and the throws were big enough to where like sometimes your leg would get in the way. The T-45 actually, the stick was broken in the middle. So it would move on the floor and at the midway point to help you clear your legs. This thing here, I could see being up on a pedestal, kind of, your legs.
Maybe sits high. Yeah.
Yeah. Your legs probably not going to get in the way. So, I mean, I'd venture to say, man, I mean, the cockpit looks pretty modern. I bet it's comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, if it works, no big deal. It looks like, it looks wide too. So it looks like you're like you're straddled. This reminds me of the way the F-16 cockpit is, because you got that, especially with the new center displays, where you're straddled the center part and then it's like right up to you. The Hornet, when I flew that, it was farther back, so you felt like you had a little bit more room. But here with the stick and that center pedestal being right there, next to your feet and being a little wide, like it looks like, you don't have a whole lot of real estate to move around. And then the rest of the stuff looks like a standard, 5th gen fighter. I wonder if the bottom right is like an EFB, because that's what it kind of looks like, that bottom right display.
Yeah.
Like your electronic flight bag, just something, miscellaneous stuff, weapons, stores, approach plates, whatever it is they're doing. And like you pointed out, I do like that they actually have a HUD, because as we've seen with the F-35, that's not always the best option, is to not have a HUD.
Right.
Because who knows? If the thing fails, what do you have? But I mean, it looks like a decent cockpit. It does look like they sit pretty high too.
Yeah.
I was talking about the visibility previously, and people were like, why are you talking about visibility? Because it matters. But it does look like he sits high enough that maybe his rearward visibility isn't all that affected, but I would rather not have a canopy bow personally. If I could design the perfect fighter, it'd be like the F-16, where it's a single piece canopy. But
are those little windows in the back, or is that gray paint?
Gray paint.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a good looking jet. I think the cockpit looks nice. What do you think of the blue, man?
That's just standard Russian, man. That's they've always done that. I've heard various rumors of why they do it, but
why? I'm just curious. What rumors?
Like, I've heard everything from it's easier for your eyes to adjust looking outside, like outside, inside, because of that blue, to it's calming. Like, it actually has like a calming effect because of the color. Like, I've heard multiple iterations, and then I've heard it's just cheaper. The whole frame looks like that, and they just don't paint it, and that's just the way they've always done it.
They've got a discount in Russia on blue paint, dude.
that if it works, but
Yeah.
I don't know the real reason for that. But I mean, it's a good looking airplane. It's a good looking cockpit. Now realize this is from the air show in China, right?
So it's probably the export. It's the export version, right?
It's the T50.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
this is the production version prototype that they may have sorted a lot of stuff out, which is probably likely because I doubt Russia wants you taking pictures inside one of their production combat coded
No.
T-57s.
Yeah.
So this is probably the T-50 that doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the combat version does.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, it's awesome. Hopefully we'll get it'd be cool to see the screens powered up, but I know that's
Yeah.
it's bridged. That's
Maybe in DCS, Gonky.
Maybe
Maybe
in
DCS one day.
This looks just like a Hornet. Shocking.
Yeah. Right. Well, no, but yeah, looks cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the Navy to develop NGAD or the Chinese pilot training next? Because we got about 1.5 more topics left.
Let's do the Chinese.
All right. Well, China is going to. Oh, Doug's got it. And he's got it in Jitterbug font. Awesome. He had it in Jitterbug font. New report, China cuts pilot training time, aims to modernize by 2030. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yep.
China is cutting down on the time it takes to train raw students, which is, street to sea, basically, transitioning to a full fleet of 4th generation training aircraft, but won't have a fully modernized pilot training system until 2030, according to the Air University's China Aerospace Studies Institute. In the paper, Derek Solon cited new developments in pilot training divulged by China in the last few months. They have 3 training centers for the PLAAF, completed and replaced older training program aircraft using it, referring to the 3rd generation fighter equivalent to the MiG-21.
Wow.
They're establishing new units to train recent graduates to transition to fighter aircraft, shifting the burden of training from combat units to academies. Soren told Air and Space Forces magazine, China's pilot training academies have been consolidated from 6 to 3 over the last decade. Wow. A further year could be cut from the curriculum because of the success of the Hongdu JL-10 trainer, a derivative of the Yak-130 fly-by-wire glass cockpit. Educated estimate, they're producing 400 pilots a year, and that number is increasing. By comparison, the U.S. Air Force is producing 1,350, which is short of our goal for 1,800 to 2,000.
Wow.
And that's the bottleneck. Scroll down, please. Noted in his analysis that it doesn't have service academies or generic officer training schools. Rather, after 3 years of officer training and education, students begin primary flight training. They begin that school after a 4th year, after which they do a year of intermediate training, followed by a year of advanced training. Those that graduate go into a year of specific instruction. Jesus.
Wow.
Dude, that's a long time, man.
That's a long pipeline.
Wow. And then, although only flight instructors have been mentioned training in the J-10, it's likely that the Academy will begin conducting transition training for new pilots in autumn of 2020 or 2024. All right. Thanks, Doug. That's probably enough. Gonky,
wow.
Your thoughts?
So did they were making 400 pilots a year? Is that what that article said?
Yeah.
To me, that's incredible because the size, the number of pilots I thought it would be comparable to the number of pilots that the U.S. is putting out, or more. Exactly. Given the ratio of people to, planes and whatnot. So it kind of makes me happy though that we're not the only ones in the struggle bus right now. And they are, they suffer from some of the same issues that, that we do here in the States. Yeah, man. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it goes back to Wombat's thing about the ultimate conspiracy theory is that they copy us, and that was our plan, was for us to be so terrible that they copy the terribleness, and then that just works, which he mentioned last week as a joke. But no, this thing, 400 pilots is not a lot, but it is amazing that it takes 4 years to get to them to that place. And I wonder how that would, translate to what we do. Like if we had to give people 4 years, would you get a better product out of it, or would you get more opportunities to wash people out through the process? And that's why they only end up producing 400, because, you got 4 years to basically, you can't cut it, let's go somewhere else. You can't cut it, let's go somewhere else.
Well, they some of the training they do towards the end is in the J10, right? That's what it said, which is an operational fighter. So I guess in my mind,
JL10, the JL10, it's the Yak. That article was talking about their trainer, the Yak equivalent.
Yeah, that's a long time to be in training. But then again, we don't know the details, right? Of is it taking that long?
Like Navy training, where you just kind of show up and figure it out?
Well, is it taking that long because they're struggling, or is it taking that, or is it like 4,000 sorties per syllabus? I mean, like, so without that data, it's kind of hard to figure out. But more to the point, and Tim Davies talked about that they're having the same issue in England, right? It just takes way too long to train, which I think is detrimental, like morale wise for people. And then I'm sure career wise too. I mean, how do you plan anything?
China cares about morale, but
no, you're right. They don't. Well, yeah, no, they probably don't. You're right. It's like, you're just lucky to be here. Valid.
Yeah, you're lucky. But
there's some details missing, but it is eye-opening that the pipeline is literally years.
Right.
And it's only 400, because dude, that is a 3 or 4 year footprint, and you're only getting 400 and for a country, not to pick on country size, a country the size of China, with the kind of vision and aspiration they have for their military. I'm really surprised that it's that low, which tells me there's some real inefficiencies somewhere along the line. There's something that's missing.
Yeah, and I think our problem is very similar in that when you try to reinvent the wheel, you end up creating bottlenecks. If you've got a tried and true method, right, that works, and you're producing X number of pilots per year, and you try to make it more efficient, sometimes you reach the limit of efficiency. You reach the end of what you can do, and you start going backwards. And sometimes it's not your fault. I mean, China doesn't have the same problems we have. China can take a trainer and say, that's our trainer, deal with it. We have to go bid it out. We have to figure out, it's got to be, some parts have to be sourced here. We have put all the restrictions on ourselves in how we create the pipeline and the trainers and what aircraft we use and contractors and all that stuff. But it's still a problem. And also, we can't tell you, hey, you're a fighter pilot, you're going through the pipeline, versus China. They can go, hey, dude, you're in. Good luck.
Plus, I would also argue, and I would bet that part of the issues they're having is, man, if you go back 20 years, like their frontline stuff has developed like rapidly. And so, maybe, kind of like the T-38, right? Like it's the T-38 was designed to train guys to fly the Century Series fighters, right? So like maybe the issue is the old training program didn't advance as fast as like the frontline stuff and the numbers of frontline stuff. And it's like, oh crap, the bottle, hey, it's just because the systems that we had in place 20 years ago, 15 years ago aren't good enough for what we're doing today, which, I mean, that's
valid. I mean, that makes sense is if you come up with one thing and say, we're just going to use this forever, we're not going to change with the times, then T-38 works today. Right. Because if you say it doesn't matter, and we can live without a T7 or whatever, then you're kicking the can down the road to the B course has to fix it, or the squadron has to fix it, which we've seen mishaps like that.
Exactly. And the training command is always going to be kind of reactionary, right? to the fleet. So I mean, so that inherently, even if you're a communist country, is going to have a yo-yo effect. You
Right.
know, I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, it's kind of nice to see like we're not alone.
Yeah. It's
You
not
know?
just us with problems.
It's
And you're right, 400 people versus, but I wonder what that number entails. You know, I mean, is it because
I'll-
it's 4 years?
I want to know what the front end number is. Like, okay, like
Yeah.
there's 5,000
30,000 people join and 400 get out alive. Like,
Yeah,
what happens?
it's
Jeez.
it's like an island, and there's only going to be 400 of you that make it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Gonky, you want to talk about the NGAD real quick, or you want to just go to the mental health minute?
I could Doug put it up. We'll give it a shot. It's pretty long. I mean, I tried to. Oh no, we're in a do loop here. We're in a do
We're
loop.
all trying to hit the same button at the same time.
Yeah. All right, scroll up a little bit, man.
Is that
Wait one.
the
that all
Jessica
up there
Biel
or
aircraft?
The Navy's the FAXX program from the impacts of the Air Force NGAD review, especially as the source selection process is ongoing with the winter expected next year. So it's a pretty long article. I'll summarize it.
The headline is Navy to develop the FAXX independently of NGAD. So
Correct.
That's what we're talking
That's
about.
the crux of the article here. So the
Yeah.
Navy's version of the NGAD is basically they want to replace Super Hornet and Growler. So currently, per the article, I don't, because I've been out of the Navy for a while, but the Super Hornet's kind of holding the hammer on the air-to-air stuff. The F-35 is kind of the LO strike, and they want to replace they want more air-to-air capability. So the Navy's vision as of right now is, hey, going to develop this 6th-gen fighter. It's going to have all kinds of capability, and they're going to incorporate some version of loyal wingman. I don't know if that's what it's going to eventually be called, to help it be more effective, survivable, you know, in future air wars. So I mean, that's kind of the thumbnail sketch of this article. But I think it's worth bringing up because it's, you know, we're just relearning the same. It's just relearning the same thing over again, right? So we tried this back in the 60s with the F-111, didn't work. We tried it again with the F-35. How long did the kumbaya at Eglin, where all services were going to train together? We're going to hold hands by the campfire, and it's going to be great. It didn't even really get off the ground because the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps, it's just they operate differently. Their missions are differently. I mean, when you tell an Air Force guy like air superiority, he's thinking like 9,000 airplane, massive launch. When you tell a Navy guy, we're going to establish air superiority, he's thinking like, hey, there's going to be 4 lanes of 4 Hornets, you know, I mean, like much smaller, localized. So like, it's just the idea of one airplane for everybody other than the F4 Phantom. It's not going to work, man. So I think the Navy has once again learned, just like they did with the F-111, okay, this isn't going to work. We got to have the Tomcat. Just like the F-35, it's like, well, okay, this really, really screwed us. And it's really screwing the Marines, right? Because they're flying.
Well, hold on now. It's their fault.
It's a Navy article. I'm just from a Navy perspective. I'm not saying it's the Air
Marines.
Force.
The Marines are the reason. Anyway, go ahead.
You're correct. I agree with Mover 100%. The Marines completely screwed up the F-35. Just how I feel. Who needs a vertical takeoff and landing freaking air? It's freaking dumb.
Go
Anyways,
Airwolf.
Exactly. Get Airwolf. But you know, they finally realized it again. Hey, listen, the next airplane needs to be a specific design for shipboard operations. That's going to keep the cost down. That's going to keep it relatively on time, potentially. And they're going to get a much better weapon when it's specifically designed for seagoing operations. Because, I mean, having been a Navy guy and an Air Force guy, we both fly planes, period. That's about as close as the similarities get, to be completely honest, right? I mean, Mover does the same thing, right? I mean, yeah. What do you think, man?
I laughed at that article when it said affordable. Like, I don't even know why we lie to ourselves and act like any of this is ever going to be any reasonable price or reasonable cost. And why we even put, because it's just fake money. We're going to spend what the Congress and the lobbyists and they're going to dump money in it, and then it's going to be cost plus, and then they're going to dump more money into it. And then they're going to don't even lie to us about affordable. Just say, hey, we're going to make our own thing, and it's going to be awesome, and you're going to like it. And if you don't like it, we don't care, because it's going to be awesome. And we just told you why it's going to be awesome, because it's going to do the mission. Fine. But don't lie about, well, it's going to be more affordable, and we're going to whatever. When you're playing with house money, nobody seems to actually care about actual affordability. They did talk about the next gen propulsion, which I think is kind of cool, that there might be some transferability between the two. Like, I agree with you, Gonky. It should be Navy develops theirs, Air Force develops theirs. They share tech. They share,
ideas,
the tech, and all that stuff. But when it comes to selecting something, it's not a one size fits all. It's or one size fits most. It's here's what we have, and it's going to go to the carrier and do ship operations, and then the Air Force gets theirs, and then the Marines
shouldn't fly. Gotcha.
Probably still flying Fat Amy in 30 years. So, they're going to be the last ones flying it probably. But I just think that we have such an issue with acquisitions in the military and DoD that it's hard to take any of it seriously, because it's probably so far down the road that, everybody says, oh, it's on schedule, it's going to go fast. And then they talk about how expensive it is and we can't do it, and we're going to separate, and we're on a divorce now. Like, just show me when it's ready, and then we can talk.
Yeah. That's kind of the way they used to develop airplanes, man. It's like they have like a fly off, right?
That's the way it used to be.
Yeah. So I get it, and it's a tremendous expense, and a lot of times it's like the companies invest, like when Northrop, the F-20 Tiger Shark, right? That was millions and millions and millions and millions, probably tens of millions of dollars they invested in that airplane, and if you don't win, kind of eat it, right?
That's happened to YF-23. Well, or whatever that Guppy thing was that lost to Fat Amy.
The Boeing thing, yeah.
How did they find something uglier than Fat Amy?
You know what? Thank goodness Fat Amy won, because dude, it would be, dude. Actually, the memes would be a lot better if the Boeing one would have won. But anyways, but yeah, man, I agree with that. I think people are starting to realize one size fits all, especially with weapons. You end up getting marginal across the board, and when you're in the business of like winning at literally all costs, that's not acceptable.
200% of the cost for 50% of the capability is what it turns into.
Oh, and dude, another good point. We're talking about some of the most expensive weapons programs ever, period.
And twice as long, and you're just like, when is it? By the time it shows up, it's just like this T7. By the time it shows up, you're like, dude, we've killed so many people in T-38s already, and we've destroyed our pilot training pipeline. Because you could not get this thing on time, on budget, not under budget, on budget. You could not do it. So when you start talking about affordability, dude, don't lie to me. Just tell me it's going to be awesome, and you're going to have it at least in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, it is pretty wild that, even a trainer, is taking as long as it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know, man. Like you've said it in the past, what our acquisitions, military programs and acquisitions needs a complete overhaul. Probably going to get it.
But once it gets there, what ends up happening is the folks at Pax River, the folks at Edwards, the folks at Eglin, like all of the people that start the operators that get their hands on it, whether it's developmental test, operational test, or whatever, they make it work. And that is a testament to their professionalism, is a testament to how smart they are and how good at their jobs they are. It's just, I wish, you would get the 69% solution up front versus we'll figure it out and see how much it costs later.
Right. Because for sure, that's the best way to go over budget.
Yeah.
It's like, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We got a couple chats and then we'll get to the mental health side of things, which is still a surprise to you, huh?
Yeah, man.
You just have no idea. That's why I'm going to let you start.
Thanks,
Hawkeye says, enjoyed watching Mover and Gonky in the ready room. Thank you, Hawkeye.
man. Thank you, Hawkeye.
My dad, who was Navy and flew Phantoms during Vietnam, also makes fun of the Navy and not always good naturedly. He flew us just before Thanksgiving. His call sign was Hawk. I'm sorry for the loss, man. That's nickel on the grass. Professor Hamnatics says the true test is how long can it fly once the pilot punches out?
Yeah.
Well, the Hornet has had that where they had to rejoin on the guy that was the jump, like the guy jumped out behind the boat.
He sure did. It flew for quite a while.
The Vipers had that happen. The Fat Amy's had it happen.
Oh yeah,
it's a rite of passage. Heat Seeker says, where do you tape the Garmin in there? Oh, he's talking about the Su-50. Don't make fun of that, dude. We flew with Garmins.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's probably what that was down there in the lower right. It was just they just took a Garmin and just
looked like the EFB from the 7.8. The 7.8's got one like right there, and it does moving map. Well,
wait, do you guys bring an iPad or is it in the airplane?
So we have one in the airplane, but we bring an iPad.
Okay. Are they the same? Or is it just a backup or
no? In fact, they're talking about getting rid of the one in the airplane. The only reason they keep it is because it's the only way maintenance can talk to the airplane.
Okay.
So there's like a keyboard over here that they can type, but we don't use it. So,
okay.
I mean, I tell you that we use it limited amounts. It's not as much as the iPad.
Copy.
TR4 a Jim. Don't these Russians and Chinese use the same fighters for Air Force and Navy? No. They do not. They're naval variants.
Yep. Similar, but not the same.
Yeah. Same, but
same.
different. Chuck says, where is naval AWACS headed? E2 has no replacement. It will live forever.
Yeah, that's going to be the E2E super duper Hawkeye.
E2F.
The E2Z.
At some point,
AA.
I'm waiting for at some point. Just you got Starlink, and that tells you the entire picture in real time. Like you don't need radar.
Yeah, no, you're right. At some point,
it's space based.
Yeah.
Then when you get space lasers,
the data link from all the data link will be so complete. You won't, like you said, maybe you won't need it.
Yeah, it'll be boring.
I don't know. Too bad we didn't have one, but we could ask him. Be like, in what kind of world would the E2 be not needed? And he would say, never.
You know, it would be really cursed is if they took a Osprey and put a spinny dome on
it. We can't hover though, because we'll chop that sucker right off. Dude.
Yes, exactly. The blades will only go 10 degrees because if we turned them all the way, it would chop the top off.
Yeah. Don't forget though, we just have a little piece of tape here on the little lever. It says, "Don't go past this," or else the guys in the back will be lead nosed.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Thomas says Maverick and Goose should have had the blue-green interior during the flat spin. Tomcats.
Keep them nice and calm. Yeah. Thanks, Thomas.
I think they were pretty calm. They were just pinned to the.
Yeah. I mean, they were just,
John says mental health minute suggestion, regaining your sense of humor in the face of adversity. Let's just do that one, Gonky. Go.
I did no. No, you can go ahead. I started the last one, dude.
Son of a. Actually, well, I'll tie it in. I'll tie it in.
John, thanks for putting Mover on the spot. I
Thanks for
like it.
putting Mover on the spot. Good segue. So I came up with setting boundaries, and because we talk about a lot of like, make them tell you no, go do this, go do that, never down, never out, which is Wombat's thing, which I think is awesome. He posted about it today on Twitter or X, and that's all great, but sometimes you can overextend yourself and you can do too much. And we, as maybe type A fighter pilots, high functioning members of society, we want to accomplish and achieve and then please other people in doing so. And sometimes you have to set a boundary and have your own limits of what you will accept from other people and what you will accept as far as limitations that you will allow them to do. And by that, in the aviation world, we do this all the time when we go out and we fight. We say, hey, we're not going to let the enemy get past this point, or we're going to do this tactic. We're not going to let them trundle inside of this protected airspace, or we're going to do this tactic. Or if we get inside of this engagement zone, we're going to do this. And so we set this all the time. Or like we talked about with the F-35 crash, if I get below 6,000 feet and that jet is not controllable, I'm going to get out. We set our limitations and our boundaries, and we know that, and we adhere to that. And where we get in trouble sometimes is where we don't set the boundaries and we kind of just accept things. Well, what happens when you do that from a mental health perspective? Eventually it wears you down. You get tired of people trampling on you. You get tired of people using you or abusing you or whatever, and we don't extricate ourselves from bad situations, which could be limiting our ability to achieve our goals. And so you have to just set boundaries. And whether that's with a personal relationship with, you and your spouse or you and your partner or whatever, or that's with your professional life where your company or your business or whatever is asking too much of you or not giving you the respect that you feel is deserved for the work that you do. And sometimes that's the reality. Sometimes they'll never do that. And you're just a cog in the machine. And no matter what you do, you're not going to change them. So at that point, you've got two options. You can suck it up and accept it, or you can vote with your feet. And sometimes that is your most powerful weapon, is to just leave and let them deal with it. And Gonky and I have talked about this, about quitting. Sometimes quitting is the option. But sometimes it's because you've set a boundary for yourself that, hey, I'm not going to accept this anymore. And if that's something that they want to continue, then I'm not going to be a part of it. And for my own mental health, because nothing will wear you down more or faster or make you jaded than sticking to something that is abusive to you. So that's where I'll end with. Like I said, always 988, talk to a mental health professional. 911 if you need help. Don't make a temporary problem permanent. Gonky, what do you got?
Setting boundaries. In aviation, limitations, right? So a man's got to know his own limitations, right? Whether you're flying a fighter, if you go outside of those limitations, you're asking for trouble. Whether you're, operating machinery or operating your life, I think, the limitations can keep you, they can keep you safe. They can keep you on task. And they can, like you said, Mover, they can keep you from wearing yourself down. As far as mental health goes, I think a lot of it, at least in my experience, as far as setting boundaries, is it's, what do you prioritize? So if you're the kind of person that has, some goals, some vision, with where you're going and what you're doing, you will set boundaries, in relation to that. And I think that really helps, because, if you just say yes to everything, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And not only that, you're going to end up, letting people down, right? Because, you overextend yourself, just like, you overg an airplane, it breaks. If you overextend, on your commitments and whatnot, and you can't do it, just bad things are going to happen. It's going to create a lot of stress, for you. And if you're kind of like me, I don't like to say no. I think people naturally, inherently like to be, a people pleaser, generally speaking. And it is hard to set boundaries sometimes, but I think it's a very important part of mental health for sure. It's funny, my wife and I talk about this all the time, setting boundaries, especially if you have kids and stuff and you're, going through life as a parent. Setting boundaries is very important. But yeah, I don't know. Doug, what do you think, man?
When Mover put this one up, I actually put in the chat that it was a good topic. I thought it was a really good pick. To try to go a little beyond what y'all said, because you said good stuff and I don't want to just repeat it like usual. I think that something I've encountered is that setting boundaries can be a reality check in a relationship. And if you tell somebody, hey, that's off limits for me, and they respond negatively, well, maybe that's a good time to end the relationship. People who care about you are going to respect your boundaries, oftentimes apologize if they crossed them by accident, and almost always correct. They're not going to do it again. And I think that can be a real acid test for a relationship. I also think, I always say this because I'm a social psychologist, consider context. You don't want to be 100% transactional in personal relationships because that gets old really fast. But in professional, and I think this one will probably hit close to home for Mover, in volunteer relationships with organizations, you have to kind of think about what you owe them. I've gotten in way too deep with volunteer organizations in the past, especially in leadership roles. And, you just have to say that's enough. If you don't like it, cut my salary in half.
Valid.
Thanks, Doug. To answer, well, I will tie in the humor thing because we didn't, keep in your humor. I think it's part of the compartmentalization, right? If you don't laugh at yourself, you don't laugh at certain situations, then sometimes you're going to make yourself crazy. You're not going to be a happy person. I think that's where kind of people end up in kind of dark humor, especially in police, military situations. We make fun of each other. We make fun of situations. We laugh. And as an outsider, it may look like we're angry people that hate stuff. We're haters, right? That's like the whole Fat Amy thing. People are like, well, you're haters. Well, it's like, well, no. Gonky did a pretty good job of explaining that. But that's part of the military humor. That's part of the fighter pilot humor. If we don't throw out that humor and break that tension, then you cannot operate at 100% seriousness all the time without fail, or else you will break yourself. The human mind cannot do it. It has to have a little bit of a relief. It has to have a little bit, that little bit of endorphin, something to break that cortisol spike of stress. And sometimes humor and laughter, best medicine you can have. So don't be afraid to laugh at yourself, especially if you make a mistake. I mean, Gonky, we've done DCS. How much time did we spend laughing at ourselves?
The entire time.
Exactly.
The entire time, because we're gooning it away big time.
You have to know when it's serious. I mean, would I like to be able to go into that game and, just rage and win and never lose and be perfect? Absolutely. I'm a fighter pilot. That's what I want to do. But when it doesn't happen, if I took myself so seriously that I would be depressed. I would just never, not be a functioning human. So you have to be able to laugh and make fun of yourself, make fun of others, because it's the way.
Yeah. If you can, if you can using humor, laughing at yourself, I think can sometimes clear the picture, man. Because I think if you're 100% just hard nosed, dead serious all the time, I don't think you all the time are going to have a clear picture of what's actually happening,
Yeah. Doug, you want to talk about that one now?
I got nothing. Neither of you. It's funny.
Oh, damn, dude.
We've stumped him. Finally.
You hurt my feelings. Yeah, we finally stumped Douglas.
That's right.
I grew up with a law enforcement officer for a police officer, and if you didn't get used to dark humor and a fair amount of what could have been interpreted as criticism, if you didn't understand it was humor, you just didn't make it.
Yeah.
We only make fun of you if you like you.
Yeah, that's yes. That's kinda weird.
Beats
Right?
being
You ever heard
ignored.
that? Yeah.
So weird, man.
I
It's
was like, no, ignore me, damn it. Stop making
Yeah.
fun of me.
yeah.
Feeling. John, always with the quotes, and we appreciate your continued support. Boundaries define our limits and protect our inner peace. Bren Brown,
Oh. I only get my quotes from one place, Mover. You know that.
a calendar. Mike Tyson calendar.
It's a highlight. It's a highlight reel.
Yeah. Thomas says Doug needs to yawn now for comic relief.
Look, perfect. Perfect.
Notice Wombat has not been on.
You think I'd pushed Wombat away forever?
That's funny, dude.
I feel so bad.
That was probably one of the best moment of the Mover and Gonky show I can remember.
Yeah, that's a highlight reel right
Yeah,
there.
100%.
Well, Gonky, I think we made it.
We did.
We always were like, hey, we're not going to make it a full 2 hours.
Probably an hour
short show.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the hate mail
Yeah. Send it to me.
or the federal agents knocking down my door.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining on a Sunday, right?
Yeah, hell yeah.
A little different.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, Douglas. Thank you for your
Thank you.
continued support as well. We will
Thanks
double
for
your
inviting
salary.
me. I appreciate it. I'm due for a raise.
And then next week we're going to cut it in half.
Well, I mean, you should have cut it in half after I yawned at Walmart.
Did you just call him Walmart?
Oh, dude.
Wombat. Dude, I am so tired right now.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
We'll edit that out.
Not Walmart.
Wombat.
Walmart Wombat.
That would actually be a good call sign.
He's the great value Wombat.
Yeah, I'm not used to trying to have energy on a Sunday night. I'm
Neither
wiped out.
are we, dude. When Gonky told me I had to do this tonight,
renaming.
I was like, this is going to be tough. And boy, was I underestimating it. So, Gonky, I hope you have, I hope your luck changes, right? I hope you don't end up stranded somewhere in the RV.
No, don't jinx me. No, I've been.
Well, hold on now. I thought you didn't believe in that because I remember somebody saying, "Good thing we're not going to have to eject in the final turn in a T-38."
In airplanes,
yeah, that could kill you. That try to kill you.
Really? I don't know.
Yeah, like Gonky, you're not wearing your parachute. Well, I don't need it. I'm not going to eject.
Yeah, I'm flying with Mover. What could happen? Yeah, my pins are in, bro.
Yeah, I don't even take them out. I'm just gonna. Damn it, Thomas, the Walmart.
Hey everyone, this has to be our little secret, okay?
Yeah, please don't tell Wombat.
For
the love of all that is good and holy.
I can no longer keep any other tabs open. It's just the show and the list of topics.
Walmart Wombat next show. Were you shopping on Walmart Cyber Monday? Is that what happened?
I was looking for some stuff.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, please, God, please do not message Wombat. Like, this is between
secrets. Everyone's in the circle.
You're in the circle.
Outside the circle.
Don't leave the circle by telling Wombat what just occurred.
This is a skiff. This is a secure, safe
with no
space.
secrets that are of national security.
Oh no, Tom.
Tom, delete it, please.
Oh, dude.
We'll never see Wombat again if we do that.
That's funny, dude. That's funny.
All right.
Well,
let's end this before it gets worse.
We've done enough damage.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you probably next Monday, I guess. Hopefully.
Bye, folks.
Bye.
See ya.